How significant is your business law within MBA? When you say MBA, oh, folks will talk about lawyers and others like Femi Falana and the rest who take on the government on political, electoral, whatever process, corruption cases. But business law seems to be a little bit on the back burner, is it?
Well, yeah, you know, it's historical. You know, the Nigerian legal profession is almost over a century old. It's over 100 years old. And its antecedents are in litigation, advocacy, and defense of human rights, and so on and so forth. But about 14 years ago, almost 15 years ago, the NBA realized that there are definitely all types of lawyers within the fold, and we should try to cater for the different lawyers in the fold. And so sections were created about 14 years ago. Section on business law to deal with commercial law practice, section on legal practice to deal with the core litigators, and section on public interest and development law to deal with those who are interested in access to justice and other like matters. So we have those sections running, and each section, vibrant sections, and we are representing or dealing with the issues that confront us commercial lawyers, and it has been a good run so far. And I don't think we can ignore the commercial lawyers in Nigeria. I think if you look at the pantheon, as it were, of titans in commercial law practice in Nigeria, I'm sure you know that you would agree that they have contributed significantly to the development of commercial law and indeed the Nigerian economy.
You want to grow the economy, you need business law. So Kama is just one of them, and you have a lot more others still sitting in there with the National Assembly and perhaps with the federal government. So the Vice President spoke about this executive, legislature, and judiciary processes that says it's been a partnership or cooperation that have worked. Has it really worked?
I think as far as law reform and business efficiency is concerned, I think there's a revolution going, a quiet revolution, a quiet storm. I give kudos to the Vice President. I give kudos to the Senate President and indeed Mr. Speaker. There's a quiet revolution going on. We have what we call NASBA, the National Assembly Business Environment Roundtable, a collaboration between the National Assembly, the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, and the Nigeria Bar Association section on business law. We have a dashboard of about well over 50 pieces of legislation, all of which affect business, and all of which are in the process of review. There are the transport bills, if you check, the financial sector bills. I'm sure you must have followed some of the laws that have been passed in the financial services sector. So is the collaboration working? As between executive and legislature, I'm really impressed. And what we try to do also with regard to the judiciary is to ensure that their lordships are also carried along in terms of introducing them or letting them know these new developments in the space so that when disputes come before them, they're very well informed.
One of the key problems that foreign investors have with Nigeria is integrity of contracts and what have you. And sometimes when you have to say, well, goodbye, and let's separate this, it becomes a case. You have a privatization process or concessions locked down in courts for years and years, and it becomes very difficult for the government and everyone to move on. How do you think we need to resolve things like this? Is it a normal judicial process?
I mean, disputes are disputes. Disputes will take a bit of time. Yes, I know that there are peculiarities in this jurisdiction that tend to agree with the contention that they drag out. But I think over time, with the reliance on arbitration and alternative dispute forms of dispute resolution, I think investors are a bit more confident, and they're more assured that there's predictability in this jurisdiction, and that there's sanctity of contracts. So it's very rare today to find that you have investors who say their contracts cannot be upheld in Nigerian courts or in arbitration emanating from those transactions. I think those are from days of yore.
What other areas of law review would you like to see from the commercial point? Is it in bankruptcy? Is it in foreclosure? Where would you want us to see the kind of business law that will serve as a game changer for revving up this economy?
Well, one of the laws that should I call it a law now? One of the pieces of legislation that excites me, that is in the offing, is borrowing a leaf from what was done in Kenya, is what you call an omnibus legislation, which, because if you try to pick every piece of legislation and try to review, it might be difficult to achieve the objective. But if you have one catch-all law that goes into the other existing laws and seeks to strike down offending sections or impeding sections, and then, reenact what should actually would work. I give you an example. In my years of practice, I've always found that immigration, to set up a company in Nigeria, you're meant to get what is called a business permit. You know what I mean? And that's just, to my mind, it's, aside from setting up the company, you must get a business permit to set up to operate in Nigeria. And for many years, those of us who came to meet that little piece of that requirement, for many years we've asked, what exactly do I need a business permit for? So it'll be good to see a piece of legislation that takes care of some of these niggling issues in different pieces of legislation.
We have some of our viewers asking some questions about some other things that should be done. Give us a break. We'll be right back with Olumide Akpata from Templars. Akpata is a senior partner at Templars, and is also the council. Is on the council of the Nigerian Bar Association. Is the chairman of the section on business law. Is also the vice chairman for West Africa of the International Bar Association for Africa's regional forum. So the man who knows about all laws relating to business. Okay, so just before the break.
No, not quite.
Well, a bit of laws in the investment and securities market are hanging in there, and folks want you folks to give them something. So what are we doing with the ISA? What are we doing with the competition law? What are we doing with the corporate code of corporate governance?
I can speak to the ISA and the competition law, as you know, Bolson, that those two pieces of legislation are in that basket I referred to, of laws that are presently being reviewed. The ISA, indeed, I'm meeting the Nigeria Bar Association section of business law. We are meeting with the Securities and Exchange Commission DG in 2 days in Abuja. We're setting up a joint working group just to be sure that we're crossing the T's, dotting the I's with regard to the amendments, the proposed amendments to the ISA. We work closely with the Securities and Exchange Commission. We worked with them on the CAC because they were very interested in the reviews or the review of that piece of legislation, and for the ISA also. We're definitely going to be working together. And like I said to you, the National Assembly is involved, obviously involved, the Economic Summit Group is involved, and we're sitting down with SEC to ensure that we'll find out, we'll find common ground and ensure that whatever emerges as the new law is fit for purpose, good for business. And competition, and competition seems to be dragging, but quite a lot of progress has been made with regard to the drafts, the initial drafts to the new law and all of that. For some reason, there seems to be a bit of a bottleneck, but I'm in Abuja for the rest of the week, and I will definitely be finding out what exactly is holding that one up. But we were making progress early on in the year with regard to the competition law.
You have about 1 minute, and this is your final 1 minute on the program. Let's talk about financial crimes. It looks like folks say the law seems to be a little bit lenient on the folks that commit big financial crimes, multi-billion, but very sharp, swift, and very, how do I put it? I'm trying to find a very nice word to put it. Very, very hard on those who commit petty crimes. It doesn't have to do with law.
Well, is it law or is it just our value system? I don't know. Maybe we can talk of that offline. But for example, taking the scammer, for example, yes. Obviously some of the penalties that existed previously were now ridiculous in terms of contemporary reality. And so with the review of the law, quite a number of the offenses prescribed in that, quite a number of the fines that have been that are prescribed in that legislation have been increased to make more sense, to be more contemporary, and so I think law review would help. But then again, you find out that sometimes those who do big crimes can pay for better legal service. So maybe that's why it appears that they get a slap on the wrist rather than the whip of the cane. But I don't think we must also think in terms of mindset. and ensuring that...
Mindset. And that's just taking that from the VP of yesterday. Talk about mindset. Mindset, we need to change the mindset, the way people think. Thank you very much for coming this morning. Olumide, I wish you all the guys the best tomorrow when you have all the biggest names in business law in Nigeria and in Africa assemble Nigeria's political capital, Abuja, to discuss the intra-Africa trade. That will be one of the key issues to be discussed, and you're not missing that here on Channel Television. Do have a great day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.